Are you ready to turn your business dreams into reality? Do you want to build a successful business from the ground up? Then this podcast is your ultimate guide. Join us as we take you on an exciting journey through the world of entrepreneurship, one number at a time. We'll explore different industries, break down the numbers, and provide you with the tools and resources you need to succeed. From Dave Ramsey's baby steps to my own entrepreneurial journey, we'll share our experiences and insights to help you build a strong foundation for your business. But this podcast isn't just for beginners. Even if you're a seasoned entrepreneur, you'll learn new strategies and techniques to take your business to the next level. This is Figuring the Figures for Entrepreneurs by Stickman. Subscribe now to our podcast and start your journey to success. Ask your smart speaker or device to skip through the podcast using the following timestamps. For the first baby step, skip to minute 2:20. For budget template, skip to minute 6:15. For free budget tool, skip to minute 12:56. For making projections, skip to minute 13:35. For understanding numbers in business, skip to minute 14:18. For planning after budgeting, skip to minute 15:28. For how to be effective in saving, skip to minute 16:53. For what are real emergencies, skip to minute 18:39. For the first step is the biggest step, skip to minute 19:51. For building a foundation, skip to minute 22:04. For the outro, skip to minute 23:46. For any other episode notes, links, or descriptions, go to stickman.com/podcasts. Welcome back, everyone. This is another episode of Figuring the Figures. I'm your host, Stickman, and in Figuring the Figures, we help you break down the numbers. Break down the numbers to whatever you want to do in life, whether it be creating a business or living life and enjoying the job you have through budgeting and having a financial stability. In this episode, we're actually going to talk about saving $1,000 of emergency funds. So the very first step that is recommended when you're starting your financial journey is to have an emergency savings. And that emergency savings can be as little as $1,000. Now, first, before we start saving, we need to have a budget. A budget will show you how much you make and how much you're spending. Now, if you don't know how much you make and how much you're spending, how do you know if you're even able to save? That is the reason why we start with the budget. That's why a budget is very crucial and very important. All you're doing is really tracking your expenses. That's what a budget is in simple terms. Once we're able to track where all our money is coming from and where all our money is going, then we can cut down on things we really don't need so we can save more money or we can spend less, right? That is the point of being able to have a budget and being able to save and being able to start this journey, because let's say you do have a business, right? This is a business series. So if you have a business and you don't know where your money is coming from and where it's going, and you don't know how much of it you're ending up with, then how do you know how to project your next step? What if your idea is like, oh, I'm going to go ahead and make this $1,000 investment on this next project, and you plan on doing that in the next month because you feel like you're making enough to have that money available next month, but you're only really profiting $500 a month. So instead of taking a month, it might take you 2. And then because you don't know how everything's going, you might end up going into debt. And if you go into debt, you're paying interest. And if you're paying interest, that's cutting into your profits. This is why I would much rather cash flow everything I do on my end. It might be slower, it might take longer, but you learn the most and you create durability, endurance, and discipline more than anything. Every dollar you can save is a dollar you can invest, that you can put towards your emergency funds. So if you're trying to do a business and start a business, but at the same time you're still trying to save $1,000 for emergencies, I can't call it an advice. I'm not a financial advisor. My best suggestion would be, a recommendation would be, pause what you can and focus on that one step itself. Focus on saving $1,000. Focus on one thing at a time. Psychologically, it's proven that if you focus on one thing at a time, you're able to make more progress than focusing on 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 things at a time. And that is why we're building that type of discipline. So when we are able to broaden our horizon, we can get to where we really want to be and leverage ourselves without the help of any financial institution to kind of like say, hey, yeah, we can help you, but they're taking a cut and they're taking interest and all that. So we're trying to cut that out, right? Okay, let's go ahead and use our budget tool here, and I'm just gonna put in $1,000 as income, right? And we could do this as a, I don't know, maybe bi-weekly thing, or we could do it as a weekly thing. However you guys want to look at it, really. Monthly thing, it doesn't matter. What Dave recommends is that you tithe 10%, right? After you tithe, 25% goes into your housing, 10% goes into your utilities, another 10% goes into your car, really anything that has wheels on it and you can move, 10%. That's why I titled it as wheels. 10% for food, 5% for needs, 5% for fun, another 5% for family, like really other kind of fun, and then invest 15% and save 10%. Health insurance, 5%. This is pretty much a general rule of thumb if you want to, hold on, this is wrong here. If you want to have like a consistent breakdown, this is what's recommended. Let's say you made $1,000. Well, you would tithe $100. You'd have $225 for rent, 90 for bills and utilities, 90 for car expenses, 90 for food, 45 for any house and self-care needs, 45 to just spend on yourself and have fun with it, another 45 for again yourself, or if you have family, this is for family fun. Invest $135, save $90, and then for your health insurance you would contribute $45 to that. Now let's say you followed this plan, right? How long do you think it would take you to get to $1,000? Well, if you're saving $90, it would take you about 10 paychecks, right? 10, 11 paychecks to get to $1,000. You have a budget of $135 to invest. So let's say if you stopped your investing and then you wanted to add that onto your savings. So if you're doing 90 plus 135, that is a total of $225. And if you're trying to get to $1,000, instead of taking you 12 paychecks, it's only going to take you almost 5 paychecks to get to those $1,000. So that's a fraction of what you originally have planned. This is why it's so crucial to be able to track what you can spend and what you can save, because the more you're able to understand how you're doing and what you're doing, you'll be able to have a clear picture, a better picture on what you should do and how you should do it. Maybe you're the type of person who doesn't like to go out a lot. So you could only put $20 into fun money, and then the rest of that will go into your savings, let's say. So that's about another, $60, $70 that you can go ahead and add on to your savings until you reach your $1,000 emergencies, right? Or maybe you don't spend that much on food, or maybe you do overspend or on all these other categories, so you might only be able to save $60 a paycheck. This is what this tool is here for. go ahead and plug in some numbers. So I'm going to go ahead and put $100 into tithes. And since rent is usually high, I'm going to put $300 into rent. And then for utilities, I'm going to put $100 even. And then for my car, I'm going to put $100 even. For food, I'm going to put another $100. And for my needs, I'm going to put $30. And for my fun, I'm going to use $20. And for my other fun, I'm going to put $0 because I want to stay in and I don't want to go out and I want to save, right? So for my investment, let's say I put $150. And when I save, I put $100. For my health insurance, let's say it's already taken out of my check, so I don't put anything. That's literally your $1,000 right there. You're breaking even. On some areas you're overspending, but on some areas you're underspending. For in the housing area, we're overspending $75 because our budget is $225, but I'm spending $300. So that's overspending $75. If I'm overspending $10 on utilities because my budget was $90, I'm spending $100. Same with the car. I'm spending $100 where my budget was $90. Food, same thing. As you see, I've been overspending in these first few categories, but those first few categories were probably the most crucial to me anyways. However, when I got down to my needs, instead of spending $45 for my needs, I'm only spending $30. So I'm underspending $15 there that I can bring down to another category where I'm overspending. Fun, I'm underspending $25. So that also adds on to what I was doing. The other fun or family fun, I just left it at $0. So those are $45 I can contribute somewhere else. Investing, I'm overspending about $15 there because my budget was $135, but I set it at $150. And then saving as well, my budget was at $90, but I set it at $100. And since the paycheck that I'm getting is already taking out healthcare insurance, those $45 that I could have used on health insurance, I'm just putting them to the side to save, right? So this is pretty much why I have set it up this way, so you can see a clear picture on where you're underspending, overspending, and then at the very end, how much overall you're overspending, underspending, or breaking even. If I change these numbers around to a more realistic number, I'll be able to see a more realistic number of where I'm going wrong or how well I'm doing. If you guys would like to use this tool, it's free. Go to stickman.com/budget and you will be able to use this free budgeting tool for all of your needs. If you ever want to expand your tool to have implementation where you can put all your expenses on another table, I can do that too for you. You just have to reach out and we can get something going. But really, this is the most basic thing that I can provide to anyone in general who's trying to get something going and is serious about tracking their expenses and actually creating a budget for themselves. Like I said, the first step is to save $1,000. So since that is our very first goal, this will help us get there, and it will help us know how long it's going to take before we do get there. If I'm saving $100 on every check that I get $1,000 on, it's going to take 10 checks to get $1,000. A lot of people are like, oh, well, in 2 checks, I'll make it $1,000. But you haven't taken accountability, right? Accountability is one of our key words. You haven't taken accountability to understand where your money's going, and accountability to understand how you're managing your finances. And this is kind of what we do at school, and it seems like schoolwork sometimes, but these are things that have to happen in order for you to know what's going on. People in the business industry have all kinds of spreadsheets, all kind of balance and income statements to where they have a visual one on what's going on with the numbers, because they have to be able to understand the language of numbers and math before they're able to make a decision. Or else, if you're just like, oh yeah, we're making this much money every month and that means we can spend this much here, well, you're kind of creating all these subscriptions for yourself, not knowing that there's all these other expenses that you have to take accountability for too, and you might be overspending than underspending. And if you're overspending, your profits are not gonna flourish as they need to. Very first goal: save $1,000, because you know anything can happen. You never know what might be able to happen. That is what this tool is for. Now, once you have a budget and a debt payoff plan, it's time to start like really tying and buckling down on your next strategy, on what you need to do next to either save $1,000 as quickly as you can or spend as little as you can so you can make the most out of your money, right? With this tool I have, with this breakdown of, let's say, categories and percentages on where you should spend, like, let's say, for example, the needs and the food and all that. No matter how little or how much you make, this will break it down evenly. So if you start making less, well, your budget's gonna be tighter. You're gonna have less to work with. But using this plan will allow you to know how to rework your budget, right? If you're making more, you'll be able to understand how much more you can put into each category and how much more you can use in certain categories. If you're still on that first step of saving $1,000, you're gonna know how much quicker you're gonna be able to save $1,000. When you're saving $1,000 of emergency funds, either take it out and put it in a safe, or putting it in a separate account helps. Because you and I both know that once you see that money in your account, you get tempted to want to use it. You're like, wait, I have a couple extra $100 I can use for this purchase that I'm very tempted to make. But then you realize, wait, my goal is to save $1,000 first. So if you keep it in a separate account, it's out of sight, out of mind, right? You're not counting those extra $100 for that purchase. You're using what you got. My math teacher always told me, use what you got, use what you got, use what you got. And learning that allowed me to use what I got and always be okay with what I got. Because if you can't be happy with what you have now, you'll never be happy with anything else you have, right? And that's why I'm so passionate about helping people, because I understand the meaning and the fulfillment of like being grateful for what you do have. Keep it in a separate account. Don't touch it until you reach that goal, or until it's a true emergency. Don't touch it. Don't do anything with it. Don't even look at it sometimes. What if you end up saving twice as much as you expected, right? You're like, oh, it's gonna take me 10 paychecks. You count those 10 paychecks, or you kind of know when that time is gonna be. You go look in that savings and you're like, whoa, I saved more than I expected. Now you can relax a little bit, because you've understood the work it took and the discipline it took. What are emergencies? So things like unexpected medical bills, or car repairs, or a job loss. It's not for vacations or shopping sprees. Something that really truly happened, that's an emergency in your life, that you feel like you need some funds and you need extra little bit of means of income. That is a true emergency. Car breakdown, that is an emergency because you need that car to take you to work. Medical bills, your health is important. So if you're not able to fulfill that, statement, you have to tap in or save extra to pay off that medical bill. These are things, when we're living life, we don't even take accountability for. We don't even consider sometimes, because we're so busy enjoying life. We're so busy trying to have fun that we forget about things that might happen. And that's what the point of this plan is, to be able to have the emergencies set aside for the real emergencies. Remember I told you that saving $1,000 is more of a big step than you think, because it really is. When you haven't had the ability and discipline to put yourself in that predicament to save and have a balanced way to save and look out for yourself, when you get to those $1,000, that's when you gotta celebrate and say, you know what? I got through the first step. Sometimes the first step is the hardest step. And you gotta celebrate your progress. You gotta look back and cherish and feel grateful for what you have done, what you do have. Again, it may be little, but it's a big step. When you go to rehab for whatever reason, if you ever have, it's not that you go in there already sober. The first step you already took, which is going and acknowledging and taking accountability that there's something wrong and you want to correct it. And that's what's important here in saving $1,000. You're looking into what's important, which is saving $1,000, which is cutting down on temptations of spending and being so like abrupt and impulsive on your spending. You stop doing that already. That is a major step. There's a lot of people out there that are scared to make that step, or don't even know how to take that step, or aren't courageous enough, or just don't have the motivation and drive and ability to do it. They either need that push, or they need that understanding, that realization, that awakening moment to do that for themselves. So celebrate. Now, don't spend $1,000 on celebrating, because then you're back at square one. No, celebrate in the form of, hey, I'm here. Let's keep going. I have a budget of $50 to have, some fun money to spend. Let's go have a little bit of fun and celebrate this progress. Take it easy on yourself, but don't give up on yourself. In conclusion, saving $1,000 is for a reason, and that's for emergencies. And Dave Ramsey teaches us why it's so important. It's really a crucial foundation for your financial stability if you think about it. It creates that solid ground. If you have an uneven foundation, the rest of the building of that whatever plan you have is going to be uneven. But when you create something solid and straight, the rest of it will be solid and straight if you have the consistent and disciplined way to do it, right? And that's why the very first foundational step is important. Because guess what? If it took you 4 checks, another 4 checks you have 2, another 4 checks you have 3, another 4 checks you have 5. 4 or 5. You get my gist, right? And next thing you know, when you have $10,000, that's 10 times more than $1,000. So you can face an emergency that's 10 times greater than the $1,000 emergency one. When you want to create bigger things, you have to face bigger challenges. You can't build bigger if you can't prepare for bigger. Think bigger and understand that for you to get bigger, you have to build bigger. And it takes money to make money. Remember that. Don't forget that. That is why this step is very crucial. On the next episode, we're going to talk about paying off your debt from your smallest step to your biggest debt. In that episode, we're going to dive into what kind of situations you might face, what kind of plan financially, and break down the numbers on how that's going to work for you when you are in that predicament. And then we'll move forward with the next steps. But this very first step is what I wanted you guys to tap into and understand before we move along. This was an episode of Figuring the Figures. I am your host, Stickman, again. Thank you for tapping into the episode. If you want to learn more about the episode, go to stickman.com/podcast.